Oakland, California, March 18, 1964. Wednesday morning, 11:47 a.m. The basement of the First Chinese Baptist Church on Webster Street sits 12 feet below street level, accessible only through a side alley that most people don't know exists. The walls are concrete blocks painted institutional green in 1952 and never updated. Fluorescent lights flicker overhead, casting harsh, uneven shadows across the linoleum floor. A single small window near the ceiling offers a view of legs walking past on the sidewalk above. A meeting that was supposed to last 20 minutes has been going for 3 hours and 11 minutes. The air is thick with incense from the prayer room upstairs, cigarette smoke from nervous participants, and the weight of tradition being challenged. Every breath feels loaded with history, anger, and the suffocating pressure of a community at war with itself. 37 men sit in a perfect circle of metal folding chairs borrowed from the church's fellowship hall. All Chinese, all masters, all furious. Their ages range from 28 to 73. Some wear traditional silk jackets with frog buttons. Others have chosen Western suits trying to blend into American society while preserving ancient Chinese secrets. All of them represent schools, lineages, families of knowledge that stretch back centuries. In the center, one man stands alone, Bruce Lee. 23 years old, 5 feet 7 inches, 135 pounds of compact muscle and controlled energy. He's wearing a simple black suit purchased 3 weeks ago from Montgomery Ward, white dress shirt, narrow black tie. His black Oxford shoes are polished but not expensive. His hair is combed back with pomade, making him look more like an insurance salesman than a martial artist. His hands are clasped behind his back, fingers interlocked, completely relaxed. His breathing is steady, 4 counts in, 4 counts out, the rhythm he learned from his Wing Chun master in Hong Kong. His eyes are calm, moving slowly around the circle, making brief contact with each face before moving on. No challenge in his gaze, no fear, just presence. But everything else in that room is about to explode. The basement smells like old books, industrial carpet cleaner, and the particular mustiness of a space that rarely sees sunlight. Against one wall sits a stack of tables used for church dinners, covered with a paint-stained tarp. Another wall holds shelves lined with hymnals in Chinese and English, evidence of the building's attempt to bridge 2 worlds. Today, this forgotten space beneath a Christian church has become the arena for a confrontation that will reshape American martial arts forever, if anyone finds out about it. The Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association has called this emergency meeting, not officially, never officially. The CCBA keeps meticulous records of every official gathering, every decision, every vote. But this meeting doesn't appear in any ledger, on any calendar, in any minutes that will ever be filed. If word got out to the white press that San Francisco's Chinatown was having internal disputes about martial arts instruction, it would damage everyone. The community has worked too hard to build respectability in America, overcome too many stereotypes about mysterious Oriental fighting arts and secretive Chinese societies. So this gathering doesn't exist. These 37 men were never here. They have alibis, working in their shops, teaching regular classes, attending to family business. And what's about to happen will be buried so deep that 50 years later, only 3 people will still be alive who witnessed it, and none of them will have ever spoken publicly about what transpired in this basement. The problem is sitting in chair number 7, directly across from where Bruce stands. Master Wong Jack Man, 42 years old, 5th-generation practitioner of Northern Praying Mantis Kung Fu. Traditional forms Master. Keeper of the ancient ways passed down from the Shaolin Temple through his grandfather, his father, and now to him. He's been teaching Chinese martial arts to Chinese students in San Francisco's Chinatown for 15 years, maintaining the purity of technique, the beauty of classical forms, the sacred responsibility to honor the ancestors who died protecting these secrets from foreign invaders. Wang Jackman's hands rest on his knees, perfectly positioned, fingers relaxed but ready. His breathing is controlled, meditative, the rhythm learned through decades of morning practice in Portsmouth Square before the city wakes up. His black cotton uniform is hand-tailored, perfectly fitted, bearing no school patches or identifying marks. He represents no single organization because he represents all of them, tradition itself. But he's not the biggest problem in this room. The bigger problem is standing in the center. Bruce Lee has been teaching Wing Chun to non-Chinese students in Seattle and now here in Oakland. White students paying $20 a month to learn techniques that Chinese families have guarded for generations. Black students learning forms that were developed specifically to help the Chinese people resist foreign oppression. Filipino students, Mexican students, anyone who walks through his door with curiosity and dedication. He's violating the most sacred rule of traditional Chinese martial arts. Never teach the family secrets to outsiders. Never give potential enemies the weapons that could be used against Chinese people. Never dilute the pure transmission of knowledge with foreign influences and non-Chinese interpretation. Master Chen, 73 years old, sits in chair number 1, the position of highest honor. His white hair is combed straight back, his mustache meticulously groomed. He wears a traditional Mandarin collar jacket made of charcoal silk, hand-stitched by his wife 40 years ago when they first arrived in San Francisco, with nothing but the clothes on their backs and knowledge in their heads that couldn't be taken away by immigration officials or racist neighbors. Chen has been teaching Shaolin Long Fist for 5 decades. His students include 3 generations of the same families, fathers and sons and grandsons, learning the same forms, preserving the same traditions, maintaining the same pure connection to their ancestors. His voice carries the weight of those 5 decades when he speaks first. You understand why we are here, young Lee. His English is precise, accented, but clear. He learned it by reading newspapers in the public library, determined to navigate American society without losing his Chinese soul. Bruce nods once, a slight bow of acknowledgement. I understand your concern. Concern? Master Liu erupts from chair number 12, his chair scraping against the concrete floor with a harsh metal-on-stone sound that echoes off the basement walls. He's 46 years old, stocky and powerful, his hands scarred from decades of iron palm conditioning. This is not concern, this is survival. For 2,000 years, our arts have been kept within our people. Our fathers died protecting these secrets from the Manchus, from the Japanese, from warlords who would use our techniques against us. And you give them away to anyone with $20 a month. Liu's face is flushed, veins visible at his temples. His students call him Iron Hand Liu behind his back, partly for his conditioning exercises, partly for his inflexible personality. He represents white crane style, pure and traditional, unchanged since it was developed by a nun in the 17th century. The room shifts like a living thing. 36 men lean forward in their chairs, creating a subtle closing of the circle. The temperature seems to rise, though the basement's concrete walls keep it perpetually cool. The fluorescent lights overhead buzz with electrical interference, casting shifting shadows across the faces of men who have spent their lives in the disciplined pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection. Bruce doesn't move. His posture remains unchanged, hands still clasped behind his back, weight evenly distributed on both feet. But his voice, when he responds, carries a quiet authority that makes the room pause. I give them knowledge. Knowledge belongs to anyone willing to work for it. Master Huang in chair 18 snorts with derision. Western thinking, he says in Cantonese, then switches to English for Bruce's benefit. You have been corrupted by American ideas. Democracy, equality, melting pot nonsense, these are not Chinese values. These are human values, Bruce replies, his voice remaining level despite the escalating hostility surrounding him. Master Wong Jackman speaks for the first time. He hasn't stood up yet, hasn't shifted in his chair, but his voice cuts through the basement like a blade drawn slowly from its sheath. You have been in America too long, Bruce Lee. You speak like them, think like them, believe their propaganda about equality and integration. But you are Chinese. Your blood is Chinese. Your art is Chinese. And Chinese knowledge belongs to Chinese people. The silence that follows is so complete that the sound of footsteps on the sidewalk above becomes audible. Someone walking a dog, heels clicking on concrete, completely unaware that 12 feet below, a confrontation is building that will reshape how martial arts are taught in America. Bruce looks directly at Wong Jackman for the first time since the meeting began, studies his face, his posture, his micro-expressions, sees intelligence there, genuine conviction, and something else, fear. Fear that the pure traditions Wong has dedicated his life to preserving might not be as complete, as perfect, as necessary as he believes them to be. Master Wong, Bruce says with genuine respect, I understand your position. You are protecting something precious, something your teachers died to preserve. But I ask you this, did they die to preserve techniques, or did they die to preserve the spirit that created those techniques? Wong's eyes narrow. This is not the response he expected. He anticipated defensiveness, argument, perhaps even disrespect, not philosophy. The techniques are the spirit, Wong replies. Form and essence are inseparable. Change the form, destroy the essence. Teach the techniques to outsiders, and you corrupt both the art and the students. Bruce takes a single step forward, not aggressive, just closing the distance slightly, still in the center of the circle, but nearer to Wong's chair. Then you believe Kung Fu makes Chinese people superior to other people? The question hangs in the air like smoke. Several masters shift uncomfortably. This is dangerous territory, implying racism when they prefer to think of themselves as culturally protective. I believe, Wong says carefully, that Kung Fu is the expression of Chinese philosophy, Chinese history, Chinese understanding of the universe. It cannot be separated from Chinese culture without becoming something else entirely, something lesser. And what if Chinese culture learns from other cultures, Bruce asks? What if Kung Fu becomes greater, not lesser, by embracing broader understanding? Master Chen raises his hand for silence. The gesture is small but absolute. Conversations stop, chairs stop creaking, even breathing seems to quiet. In Chinese martial arts culture, the eldest master's word is law, and Chen has 7 years on the next oldest man in the room. We are not here to debate philosophy, Chen says with quiet authority. We are here to stop a violation of sacred tradition. Bruce Lee, you will close your school to non-Chinese students, or you will no longer be welcome to teach Chinese martial arts anywhere in America. The ultimatum hangs in the basement air like a physical presence. Every man in the circle understands what this means. The Chinese martial arts community in America is small, tight-knit, interdependent. To be banished from it would mean the end of Bruce's teaching career, the death of his Oakland school, possibly deportation back to Hong Kong, where his reputation as a troublemaker has already closed many doors. But more than that, it would mean the abandonment of everything Bruce has come to believe about martial arts, about teaching, about the responsibility that comes with knowledge. His non-Chinese students aren't just customers paying for lessons. They're human beings seeking self-improvement, self-defense, personal growth. To abandon them would be to admit that Chinese lives matter more than non-Chinese lives, that knowledge should be hoarded rather than shared. Bruce looks around the circle one more time. Every face shows the same expression, absolute certainty that they are right. These are not bad men. They are protectors, guardians of something they believe is worth protecting. They've seen Chinese workers beaten in the streets for being different, Chinese families driven from their homes by racist neighbors, Chinese traditions mocked and dismissed by a society that views anything foreign as inferior or threatening. Keeping their martial arts secret was survival strategy, not prejudice. If Americans learned Chinese fighting techniques, those techniques could be used against Chinese people. If Chinese martial arts became common knowledge, they would lose their mystique, their protective power, their ability to give the Chinese community something that belonged exclusively to them. These men have sacrificed comfort, wealth, assimilation into mainstream American society in order to preserve pure traditions. They live in Chinatown, speak Chinese at home, maintain customs their children find embarrassing or old-fashioned. They are the last guardians of knowledge that will die with them if they don't find worthy successors. But Bruce sees something else in their certainty. He sees limitation, masquerading as protection. He sees fear wearing the mask of tradition. He sees the same kind of thinking that keeps any group isolated, any knowledge hoarded, any understanding incomplete. The silence stretches until it becomes unbearable. 36 men waiting for an answer that will determine not just Bruce's future, but the future of how Chinese martial arts are taught in America. "I will not close my school," Bruce says simply. The words are spoken quietly, without defiance or anger, but they explode through the basement like a physical force. Several men actually recoil in their chairs. Others lean forward aggressively. Master Liu's hands clench into fists. Master Huang mutters something in Cantonese that sounds like a curse. Master Wang Jackman finally stands. He rises slowly, deliberately, unfolding his body with the controlled precision that comes from 30 years of disciplined training. He's taller than Bruce by 3 inches, broader by 30 pounds of muscle, built through traditional conditioning methods, striking wooden posts until his forearms are like iron, lifting stone weights until his grip can crush walnuts, practicing horse stance until he can maintain it for 2 hours without trembling. His traditional kung fu uniform is spotless white cotton, hand-tailored to his measurements, perfectly fitted to allow maximum range of motion. The black sash around his waist is silk, tied in the classical pattern taught to him by his father, who learned it from his father, in an unbroken chain stretching back to the Shaolin Temple itself. When Wang Jackman moves, every gesture carries the weight of tradition. His breathing is controlled, meditative, the rhythm learned through decades of morning practice. His stance is rooted, powerful, technically perfect. He represents everything beautiful about classical Chinese martial arts: discipline, precision, connection to history, respect for the ancestors. When he speaks, every word is measured, chosen for maximum impact. "Then you will prove your way is better than our way." The challenge is not spoken directly. That would be too crude, too obvious for men raised in a culture where meaning travels through implication and ritual. Instead, Master Wang simply walks to the center of the circle, positioning himself 3 feet from Bruce, facing him directly. The movement is fluid, purposeful, carrying 30 years of disciplined training in every step. The meaning is clear to everyone present. In traditional Chinese martial arts culture, when 2 practitioners stand in the center of a circle, when they face each other with the attention of masters watching, only one outcome is possible. This is not a discussion anymore. This is a formal challenge. If Bruce can defeat Wang Jackman in traditional combat, he may continue teaching whomever he chooses. The authority of victory will override the authority of tradition. If he loses, he closes his school and leaves California, possibly leaves America entirely, and the pure transmission of Chinese martial arts continues unchanged. The basement falls silent, not just quiet, silent. 36 men holding their breath, afraid that any sound might break the tension, crackling through the air like electricity before a thunderstorm. The fluorescent lights above buzz and flicker, casting shifting shadows across concrete walls painted institutional green 15 years ago and never updated. Outside, Oakland continues its Wednesday morning routine. Cars pass on Webster Street, their engines muffled by 12 feet of earth and concrete. Somewhere overhead, The church's normal activities continue. Elderly Chinese women arranging flowers for Sunday service, a children's Bible study class practicing songs in Cantonese and English. The mundane world carries on, completely unaware that in this basement, the future of martial arts in America is being decided. Bruce looks at Wong Jack-man, studies him with the same intensity he once used to study his Wing Chun dummy in Hong Kong, analyzing structure, balance, potential movements, weaknesses hidden within apparent strengths. He sees a man who has dedicated his life to perfection, who has achieved that perfection within the parameters set by traditional training methods. Wong's stance is classical northern praying mantis, side-facing, left foot forward, weight evenly distributed between both legs, hands raised in the characteristic hook position that resembles the forelegs of the insect that inspired the style. His breathing is deep, regulated, connecting him to centuries of practitioners who stood exactly this way, breathed exactly this rhythm, prepared for combat with exactly these techniques. Every line of Wong's body speaks of technical mastery. The angle of his feet, perfectly positioned for maximum stability and mobility. The height of his hands, precisely calculated for optimal defense and attack options. The straightness of his spine, connecting earth energy through his legs to heaven energy through his crown. This is what 2,000 years of martial arts evolution looks like. Human movement refined to its absolute peak. And that, Bruce realizes with crystalline clarity, is exactly the problem. Wong Jack-man represents the pinnacle of traditional achievement. He knows forms that date back to the Ming Dynasty, techniques passed down through bloodlines that trace their origins to the legendary Shaolin Temple. His speed, power, and precision are the products of 30 years of relentless training under masters who accepted nothing less than perfection. But perfection within a system can become imprisonment by that system. Wong has achieved mastery of northern praying mantis style, but that mastery comes with limitations. He thinks like a northern praying mantis fighter, moves like a northern praying mantis fighter, approaches every combat situation through the lens of northern praying mantis strategy. Bruce, standing 3 feet away in his Montgomery Ward suit, represents something different. Not better, necessarily, but different. He has studied Wing Chun, but also boxing, fencing, wrestling. He has absorbed techniques from Filipino Eskrima masters, learned footwork from Western dancers, explored the biomechanics of movement through scientific analysis rather than traditional interpretation. Where Wong sees a combat situation and thinks, what would a northern praying mantis practitioner do? Bruce sees the same situation and thinks, what works? The philosophical difference is about to become a practical demonstration. I accept, Bruce says, his voice carrying clearly through the silent basement. The words trigger a transformation in the room's energy. What had been tension becomes anticipation. What had been confrontation becomes ceremony. 36 masters settle into their chairs with the focused attention of men who understand. They are about to witness something significant. Master Chen stands slowly, his 73-year-old joints protesting after 3 hours of sitting on hard metal chairs. He approaches the center of the circle, positioning himself equidistant between Bruce and Wong, his role shifting from meeting chairman to referee. This demonstration, Chen says formally, will determine whether traditional teaching methods will be preserved or whether new methods will be permitted within our community. He pauses, looking at each man in turn. Both participants are acknowledged masters. Both represent legitimate lineages. What we witness here today must be accepted by all present as a fair test of philosophy and skill. Chen steps back to the edge of the circle. The folding chairs scrape against concrete as the masters widen the circle, creating approximately 15 feet of open space in the center. Enough room for a demonstration, not enough for running or extended movement. This will be decided quickly, one way or another. Wong Jack Man begins his preparation ritual, the same sequence he has performed before every training session and sparring match for 30 years. He closes his eyes, centers his breathing, connects with the energy of his ancestors. His hands move through an abbreviated version of the northern praying mantis form, not for practice, his muscle memory is perfect, but for connection, for grounding, for aligning himself with the spiritual as well as physical aspects of combat. When Wong opens his eyes, his entire demeanor has changed. The polite intellectual master who participated in 3 hours of philosophical discussion has disappeared. In his place stands a fighting machine honed by 3 decades of traditional training, every nerve and muscle fiber optimized for combat within the classical parameters of northern praying mantis kung fu. Bruce performs no ritual. He removes his suit jacket, drapes it carefully over the nearest chair, loosens his narrow black tie. His preparation consists of rolling his shoulders once, shaking out his hands, taking a single deep breath. To the traditional masters watching, this looks casual, even disrespectful. Bruce appears to be approaching this demonstration with less ceremony than he might give to a practice session. But Bruce's preparation is happening internally, invisibly. His mind is calculating distance, analyzing the available space, assessing Wong's physical capabilities based on his stance and movement patterns. Most importantly, Bruce is emptying himself of preconceptions about how this encounter should unfold. Traditional challenge matches follow established patterns. Bow to show respect. Assume classical ready positions. Circle each other while displaying techniques. Gradually escalate contact until one practitioner demonstrates clear superiority. There are rules, expectations, courtesies that must be observed. Bruce has no intention of following those patterns. They stand 6 feet apart in the center of the circle. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting their harsh, uneven illumination across the scene. The smell of incense from upstairs mixes with the basement's natural mustiness and the nervous sweat of men who understand they are witnessing a moment that will be remembered long after they are all dead. Wong Jack Man assumes his classical ready position, side stance, hands raised, left foot forward, weight evenly distributed between both legs. Perfect form, textbook technique. Every angle optimized for traditional combat applications. Bruce stands naturally, feet shoulder-width apart, hands loose at his sides. To the traditional masters watching, he looks unprepared, casual, almost dismissive of the formality of the moment. The contrast is striking, almost absurd. Wong appears every inch the classical martial arts master, disciplined, precise, connected to centuries of tradition. Bruce looks like a young man who wandered into the wrong room wearing his best clothes. But Wong Jack Man, despite his technical perfection, feels something that disturbs him deeply: uncertainty. In 30 years of combat, he has never faced an opponent who refused to acknowledge the rituals of engagement. Every challenger has shown him the courtesy of classical positioning, has given him the visual and kinesthetic cues his training has conditioned him to read and respond to. Bruce's casual stance provides no information. His relaxed hands offer no indication of intended techniques. His natural posture suggests no preferred range or strategy. For a traditional fighter trained to read and counter specific classical positions, this is deeply unsettling. Wong begins to circle, moving with the fluid precision of praying mantis style. His feet glide across the concrete floor in the classical pattern: step, slide, step, maintaining constant distance, constant angle, looking for openings while creating opportunities for his own techniques. This is how traditional challenge matches begin: careful study, respectful distance, technique displayed for appreciation as much as effectiveness. Wong's movement is beautiful to watch, each step flowing into the next, his hands weaving intricate patterns that serve both defensive and offensive purposes. Bruce doesn't move, doesn't circle, doesn't display forms, doesn't show off techniques. He simply stands, centered, watching Wong's elaborate approach with the calm attention of someone watching water flow around rocks. Wong completes one full circle, then another. His movement becomes more aggressive, more urgent. He's offering Bruce the courtesy of traditional engagement, the opportunity to display his own techniques, to participate in the ritual of mutual assessment that precedes serious contact. But Bruce isn't participating in the ritual. He's simply present, alert, waiting. After the third circle, Wong Jack Man stops. His breathing has quickened slightly, not from physical exertion, but from frustration and growing confusion. This isn't how these demonstrations are supposed to work. Bruce is violating every expectation, disrupting the flow of classical challenge protocol. "Show me your style," Wong says, his voice carrying a hint of impatience beneath the formal courtesy. "I am," Bruce replies, his tone conversational, almost gentle. "You are doing nothing. I am doing everything necessary." The watching masters murmur among themselves. Some are confused by Bruce's apparent lack of respect for traditional forms. Others are beginning to sense something deeper happening, a fundamental challenge not just to Wong Jackman's techniques, but to their entire understanding of how martial arts work. Wong Jackman's face hardens. If Bruce won't engage properly, Wong will force proper engagement. He takes a half step closer, entering the range where classical techniques become possible. His hands shift into active position, no longer displaying forms, but preparing for actual combat. The basement's energy changes like the moment before lightning strikes. 36 masters lean forward in their chairs, sensing that the philosophical discussion is about to become a practical demonstration. Wong Jackman's face hardens. If Bruce won't engage properly, Wong will force proper engagement. He steps forward, launches a classical attack, northern praying mantis trapping hands, designed to control Bruce's arms and set up a devastating follow-up strike. The technique is perfect. Wong's hand shoots out in a precise hook, aimed at Bruce's left wrist. It's fast, accurate, beautiful to watch, everything his 15 years of training have built toward. Bruce's left hand isn't there when Wong's hook arrives. It's not a block, not a parry, not a traditional defensive technique. Bruce's hand simply moves, minimal motion, just enough to make Wong's perfect technique miss by 2 inches. Wong's training takes over. When the first technique fails, flow into the second. His right hand follows with a palm strike aimed at Bruce's chest. Again, perfect form, devastating power, exactly the right follow-up for the situation. Bruce's torso rotates slightly. Wong's palm strike slides past, finding only air. For 3 seconds, this continues. Wong attacking with flawless traditional techniques, Bruce making minimal adjustments that render each attack useless. No wasted motion, no excessive movement, no showing off. Just economy, efficiency, precision. Wong Jackman begins to breathe harder. Not from physical exertion, from frustration. Nothing in his 15 years of training prepared him for an opponent who wouldn't engage according to the rules. Bruce steps forward once, not attacking, just closing distance. Wong immediately responds with a defensive pattern, backing up, hands raised, ready for traditional combinations. But Bruce doesn't attack with combinations. His right hand moves in a single, straight line from his hip to a point 6 inches in front of Wong's chest. Not a punch in any classical sense. No chambering, no rotation, no telegraphed preparation. Just forward motion, direct and simple. Wong tries to block, but his hands are positioned for traditional attacks, not this linear simplicity. Bruce's knuckles make contact with Wong's sternum, not hard, not brutal, just enough pressure to demonstrate complete control. Wong Jackman stumbles backward, off balance, more from psychological shock than physical impact. In that moment, he understands something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Everything he knows about fighting might be wrong. Bruce doesn't press his advantage, doesn't follow up with decisive strikes. Instead, he steps back to his original position, hands at his sides, waiting. The basement is dead silent. 36 traditional masters trying to process what they just witnessed. Wong Jack Man, their representative, their champion, has been controlled completely by someone using no recognizable techniques. Wong looks around the circle, sees the doubt growing in every face. These men sent him to prove traditional arts were superior. Instead, he's demonstrated their limitations. He gathers himself, resets his stance, tries again. This time, he abandons pure technique for aggressive pressure. He moves forward with a combination of strikes, kicks, and trapping hands. Everything at once, overwhelming Bruce with volume and intensity. Bruce backpedals, but not in retreat. He's drawing Wong forward, extending him, making him commit fully to his attacks. When Wong is completely extended, completely committed to his forward motion, Bruce stops moving backward. Instead, he moves at an angle, a simple step to Wong's outside, offline from the attack. Wong's momentum carries him forward into empty space. Bruce is beside him now, not in front, and Wong's perfect techniques are all aimed in the wrong direction. Bruce's left hand touches Wong's shoulder. Not striking, just touching. But the touch is positioned at the exact point where Wong's balance is most vulnerable, and the gentle pressure is applied at the precise moment when Wong cannot recover. Wong Jack Man falls. Not thrown, not struck down, just falling. His own momentum and Bruce's minimal guidance combine to put him on the floor. He lands on his side, rolls, comes up in a fighting position ready to continue, but when he looks up, Bruce is standing exactly where he was before, hands at his sides, breathing unchanged. Enough. The voice comes from Master Chen. The elder stands slowly, his 73-year-old joints protesting. He's seen what he came to see, learned what he hoped he wouldn't learn. Wong Jack Man stays on the floor for a moment longer, processing the defeat. Then he stands, bows to Bruce with genuine respect, and returns to his chair. Master Chen speaks to the circle, but his eyes remain on Bruce. What we have witnessed today changes nothing. Traditional arts are still traditional arts. They have value, history, beauty. But he pauses, choosing words carefully. Perhaps they are not the only path. He turns to Bruce directly. You may continue teaching whoever you choose to teach, but you will never speak of what happened here today. And if any of your non-Chinese students disrespect Chinese martial arts or Chinese people, we will hold you personally responsible. Bruce nods, understood, and honored. One by one, the masters stand and leave. They file out through the basement door that leads to an alley, disappearing back into Chinatown like they were never here. Some nod to Bruce as they pass, others avoid his eyes entirely.